We're really hitting it out of the park so far.
I really don't know when to talk.
I have no idea.
30 seconds. Count to 30 seconds. A timer.
Oh. I got a timer. I'm at 15. Bro.
I see 22. Is that more or less than 1 million?
I see a lot more than that. Boys.
5.
Gentlemen, that timer right there. That's what that means. Welcome everyone to the first ever live version of the Run Local podcast. Presented by Excite Credit Union and Sports Basement. Now, we ask your patience as we try to master streaming the internet at the same time as holding a reasonable conversation. We're going to be doing these things as we're going to be juggling. Master of the internet. This is like, this is amazing stuff. So, of course, the Run Local podcast is where we invite guests across the spectrum of society, including elite athletes, entrepreneurs, local legends, Olympic athletes, and beyond. We utilize the sport of running to learn more about these individuals, their local community, and what they're doing to change the world. In the end, we believe in the power of movement and doing the doable. Josh, my co-host extraordinaire, the voice of Run Local events, do we have a show for you?
JT, as always, we have an amazing show. Lucky for all of our viewers, it's actually live, so you get to see all the bells and whistles, all the warts and more of producing a live podcast. So thanks for joining us all. JT talked a little bit about what's going on today. I know you've got a few things in store. Well, one thing that I am thrilled to announce before we get to our guests, which we know everybody's excited, is that one lucky SOB will get a signed copy of Meb's book, $50 gift, Sports Basement gift certificate, a Run Local hat, and an entry into the Silicon Valley Half Marathon presented by Excite Credit Union.
Killing my bandwidth.
You'll be notified after the podcast. So thank you for submitting all of your questions. We're going to get to those in a little bit. But since it's the show with JT and I as the host, we get to ask our questions first. So
yeah,
JT,
us first.
Yes, this is perfect. I want to throw some things at you to get things going here before we bring on our wonderful guest. I'm going to throw out a few names here. You tell me what they all have in common.
Okay,
I'm ready. Shakira, Madonna,
heard of her. Yep.
Pele, Picasso,
Oof, good one.
Escobar, Lewinsky,
That one got me.
Capone, Prince, Sting, Bono, Cher, Mario, Luigi, Seal. Tell me, what do they all have in common?
I could tell you, first of all, one thing. One name. One great name.
That is the one thing that they have in common with our guest today. But tell me, what do you think is missing from that list of names?
Can I start chronologically? I don't think Lewinsky has a silver medal.
I don't think so either. Not
I don't think Prince won the New York City Marathon, Josh.
No, he did not.
Am I yelling?
A little bit, but keep it coming.
And frankly, I don't know if one of the dictators on your list won the Boston Marathon either, Josh.
No, they did not. But I will tell you that our guest today not only has done each of those, he is the only person in the history of the world to have won the Boston Marathon, the New York City Marathon, and own an Olympic medal. So with that, a huge welcome to our guest, the man with only one name, Meb. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, JT. Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you guys. As we were conversing earlier, we've been competitors against each other for a long time. So I love what the sport does, how it unites us to the best that we can, whether it was we were not in high school level, but high school level, collegiate level, or the professional level, or everyday lifestyle, that is. And for me, the sport of running has done some amazing thing in my life. It all started when I came here in the United States in 1987 for better opportunities and chances. And who knew that a 7th grade PE teacher, Duke Lord, said if you run hard, you're going to get A in the class and get a t-shirt. I'm like, sounds like familiar, t-shirt and an A. I said, well, let me see what this thing is at. And I ran as hard as I can, and his surprise and mine, I ended up running 5 minutes and 20 seconds. And I said, he goes, you're going to go to the Olympics. But little did I realize, I did not know what the word Olympic meant. I just wanted to get an A and a t-shirt. I point out to the t-shirt and I said, where's my A? I would have been very, very satisfied with that. But as a progressive, I went to San Diego High and wanted to make the league just run it. I just wanted to be on the team. And then eventually with two of our oldest brothers, Futsum and Aklilu, I was on the team where we won a CIF state championship my freshman year, their senior and sophomore year. And going to the state meet was an awesome dream for me just because, wow, we made the state titles. And I finished 25th, but I wasn't disappointed. I was content because I was a top freshman there. I'm like, I want to keep this every year. I want to be top sophomore and top junior, and hopefully by my senior year I could win. And fortunately for me, that dream did come true and end up winning the state title my senior year. So the small progress that you make, that keep the dream alive, great things can happen. But you got to be very instrumental and very incremental, not just shoot it out of the ballpark all the time. Instead, that earned me to go to full ride to UCLA, and I met a lot of great friends. And as my good friend Josh there, so we met at a race that you will talk about later how it was.
I mean, Meb, to be honest, that was probably the pivotal point in your career when you beat me by about 3 minutes in an 8K cross country race.
It is, because I always say, when I compete against my friends or rivals, they make me better who I am. Whether they're 1 second behind or 10 seconds ahead of me, I'm going to catch you next time, or I'm glad I got you today by 1 second. So it's a friendly rivalry, but it's always great. And while winning 4 NCAA title at UCLA, I realized this thing that people say you are going to be a beautiful runner. You can do this for a living. It never crossed for me until 1997. And I said, oh, maybe this is a possibility. And I wanted to leave UCLA early. I was a junior that year, but I always remember what my parents taught me, that education to kill life, and getting a diploma from UCLA will mean so much. And I wanted to stay another year to get my diploma. And then after that, I graduated from UCLA in 99 with communication and business. And I said, let me see what this Olympic thing is about. Let me give it a shot. And in Sacramento, I was able to make my first Olympic team in the 10K and went to Sydney, Australia in 2000. It was cool living there, staying there, and finishing 12th. But then you want to make always a goal incremental as the Olympics every 4 years. So I'm happy to wear that red, white, and blue, and I completely just excited to be an Olympian, but I want to make something prouder of our country. I want to win a medal for our country is what a goal I set for 2004, and then eventually keep going. And we'll talk about those in details, but and never give up on your dreams. Sometimes the dreams become right away, and some of them delayed, and they're even more gratifying because you want it so bad. And then when there's setbacks and obstacles, you're much more appreciative, whether it's just to run a mile or to win a race or just complete a race. And for me to be able to not give up my dreams, 2008, it was almost all over. As JT drinks his wine, we're at the trials together. And
I was celebrating. I was celebrating 2008 right there with you, Meb. The only time we've been on the same start line, I think. And then probably the last, I hope. Yeah.
And at that time, when I didn't make the Olympic team, I thought about retiring, but keep your dream alive. And after that, I had a big resurgence again to be able to come back, make 2 Olympic teams, and win in the Boston and then the New York City Marathon. So it is a great honor to be here with you guys. And people who are online to be able to share my stories and what the present moment is all for us.
Yeah. Well, Meb, thanks a ton. Hey, look, I know you throw that term around, honor, very loosely. It's, it's JT and I, for crying out loud. But we are super thrilled that you're here. And we were talking a little bit before the show about just, you've got all these wonderful accomplishments that have gone on, but we got a lot of viewer questions. And one of them, which I thought was really great, they want to kick it off. And we're going to go back in time a little bit, right? Just imagine we're just like sitting around when we can all kind of get together and hang out, like a backyard barbecue. Maybe the 3 of us sitting around in a backyard barbecue, enjoying the summer day. like you're grilling up whatever you want to grill up. Maybe it's a vegan sausage. Who knows what Meb's into? JT, it's probably just, whatever. It's probably like a brick of tofu. Who knows what it is? But the big thing, Meb, is what is on your playlist as we're sitting back, hanging out in the backyard barbecue. What's going on?
What year
your
is this, Josh? What year?
Oh, that's up to Meb. That's up to Meb. I'm just looking back any day prior to social distancing.
You know what? We humans, we evolve. Back in the days, music is my passion. I love music. When I run, with social isolation now or social distancing, I love having music and going for a run. And recently, I just listened to like New York or Michael Jackson all times. But back in the days, you guys are my era, so when we first came, we didn't have CD player and the Walkman, and we used to skip, and run. The
Discman. The Discman was skipping.
The Discman. Yeah, so you have to hold it. I mean, imagine holding a book and going for a run. Yeah. So, I'm not going to lie. I listen to Snoop or Tupac and Biggie and all that stuff. But as I have children now, I kind of evolved to different things that are more age appropriate for the kids. But, the back, I'm all time. I love to hear all time songs in the back of the barbecue. That would have been cool.
Yeah. So are you more East Coast rap or West Coast rap?
Ooh.
It's like he's saying Boston and New York, they get along because we all run marathons, and I live the West Coast. I'm a West Coast guy. I'm not going to claim East Coast.
Right.
I've been here only for about 8-9 months. So I'm a West Coast guy. That's right. West side.
This is exactly how you great question. That came from Carlos Sequeiros, I think. That was a great question.
It was something like that. Carlos had some question. I'm sure we butchered it, but it was a very interesting question nonetheless.
That's what I want to know.
That is great. JT, one of the things that Summer also has in common is we were talking a lot about, and Meb, you had mentioned this a bit earlier, about the event that comes around every 4 years or so in the summertime.
Mm-hmm. This is what I want to know about.
Yeah. So
if we're talking summer pastimes, right?
We're talking about we've all been there. We've all trained for it. Some of us have been more successful than others, but we're talking about the games, Meb.
Four times, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's the pinnacle dreams of every athlete who ever put the foot on the track or cross country or said, "Hey, I want to be an athlete." You hear about the Olympics. For me, I've been very, very, very fortunate through the God's grace and His talent and my ability to work hard, and the blessing that He gave me was able to make 4 Olympic team. My first one, like I alluded earlier, Sydney, Australia, was my most memorable one. It was prior to 9/11. It was in Sydney, Australia. We went 3 weeks early to get accustomed to the time zone. Everybody has to go in the village. I went to the village, stayed in the village, and I got the flu that was going around. Lightest wasn't the corona or any chance of the flu, and I ended up barely made the finals. I finished 12th in the Olympic Games. And I was excited. Before I left the stadium, I wanted to do something greater for our country, and that led to win a medal. At that time, when I set that goal, I really thought it was going to be more in the 10K than with a marathon, because I haven't done a marathon yet. And a year later, I ended up breaking the American record at Stanford, the 27:13 in the 10K. Mission accomplished, and
I was there.
Yeah, I was actually on the track for that 10K, Meb. I was not racing, but I was on the track for it.
And that expression, that dream came true. My first dream, I'm like, my jaw was so open, I was like, I got it. You dream for those things. And, and that point, I thought I had another chance to go in the 10K. Even the great Billy Mills was trying to convince me to run the 10K at the Athens Olympics. But because of the history, tradition, how we got the name Marathon, from Marathon to Athens to run the original. And Coach Larson and I, my mentor and coach Bob Larson, for a long time, we decided to go with the marathon. But I was just ready. But sometimes it didn't have to be the favorite. You just got to believe in what you do. I was a 39th guy, fastest going into the field out of 101. And guess what? When you did the preparation the key to success, and we were prepared and trained in Mammoth Lakes and went out. And Dina Castor on the women's side got the bronze medal, and I came home with the silver medal. So that was, for me, that having that flag risen with the Italy, Stefano Boldini, and the Lima from Brazil was huge. You have those dreams. didn't play the national anthem, but you can see the flag has been risen because of you. So that makes it very extra special. And then 4 years later, I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to go for a gold. I'm excited for this. I start doing marathons. That was my fourth marathon. People say get better with marathon. And I thought getting second in New York, third in Boston, third in New York, I'm like, I'm ready for the trials win. And as you say, JT, you were in that race, and we had well, it was a good place to be. And, we lost a good friend of Ryan Shane there with cardiac arrest, but also, Ryan Hall and, Dathan and Brian Sell. When I've been on the team, unfortunately for me, I was overcooked. I overprepared for that win that I wanted, and I got to the sideline healthy, but during the race, I had to end up having a pelvic stress fracture, end up getting 8th place, disappointed, and so mentally, physically, emotionally, I was done. I thought about retiring that year, and I told my brothers that December of 07, I said, you know what, I think I'm done, and I'm gonna need that transition time, but my wife and I prayed before we left the hotel there when we were watching the New York City Marathon. I said, what I was doing in training did not exemplify what it came to results. So I knew there was more in the tank, even though my mind says you should, it's over and things like that. But my heart says, stick to it. And, and a year later, I made my Olympic year, so you have every 4 year, but my Olympic, again, have a great sense of purposes. I want New York City Marathon to be my personal Olympics. So if you went to the Olympics in 08, and you came back in 2009, you were mine. You were the target. I'm a competitor. I'm going to get you, whether it was at a cross-country race or a track or on the marathon. And fortunately for me, I was able to win. That was my personal gold medal in New York. And then,
New York. Hey, Meb, I think it's really interesting. It's like when people are listening to this, I think they might miss the part that you actually broke your pelvis in the race.
Yeah.
Which. Look, I've run on stress fracture. We've all had our little aches and pains, and we've all thought we were pretty tough. But not a lot of people have broken their pelvis while running, and that's got to put you like in a position where you're like, "What's it all for? I've got a medal. I don't really need to do much more to prove my legacy." And you're probably there's probably a lot of doubt that goes into your mind, right? Like you're literally not running for a while, like. And folks get injured all the time. So how do you change your mindset from going like, I know this is an injury, but it's just a moment in time. How do you start to maintain that positivity that allows you to go, yeah, I can do this again?
Josh, you're exactly right. I had no idea. I didn't fall, so I didn't see bleed or injure or cramp up and things like that. So I just said, keep going. I know what kept me going was I was the favorite to win the race, and Ryan took the lead. I said, okay, maybe I can get second place, maybe I can get third place. I could be an alternate, maybe I could be second alternate. So that kept me going. And then, soon as I finish, mentally, when you get to that border of finish line, and then we're done. The mind it won't get you there, but once you get there, you can't even move an inch. So that's what happened. And I took 6 weeks off. I to this day, it was how hard New York City course was, the Central Park. Everybody was talking about how grueling the course is, and I saw a doctor that Sunday or Monday, and he decided that I should not do MRI, but I can tell my body was really badly injured, and I gave 6 weeks, and then I tried to make a comeback because at the time I was a Nike athlete and I want to make the 10K team, so I can not get reduced my contract. So I kind of rushed it a little bit, and then it probably got set back again, and then 10 weeks later is when I realized I actually did have a pelvic stress fracture. It was finally filling in, is what I've been told.
Oh wow! So I actually didn't know that you rushed it back and then kind of basically like hit reset on the injury, so it extended the amount of time. I mean, there's not much you can do, right? Because you have to make your living. This is your job.
It's a beautiful job when everything's clicking, but you can do all the miles that you want, but sometimes hard work does pay off, and sometimes hard work can also be detrimental to your body. So you got to find that balance factor for each individual.
Yeah. So in that like resilience piece, I think it's like super interesting where like say you're starting your run again for the first time, and you're probably not going out there and doing an easy run at like 5:30 pace right off the bat. You're probably getting out there, and it's just like starting to run again after that injury. Like what tell us a little bit about that piece that allows you to go like, it's okay, I got to trust the process again.
I think what common mistake runners make is, okay, I'm going to go for 30 minutes. You know what? You should just run for 5 minutes, see how you feel. Just keep building on that. And then, 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes. 10 minutes becomes, the body and the mind have to educate again. Because, I was literally, I remember when I was running in San Diego, from the sidewalk to the road, I have to wait until I went to the corner where you can ramp for bikes and stuff. That's the only way I can get down. I could not lift my leg high enough to get to the sidewalk or go down that way. So you understand that is, your body and mind has not met yet, and you have to make very small progress to be able to make those adjustments. But don't rush it. It's devastating. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 2-minute run or 2-minute walk when you've been running or an 18-mile or 22-mile run. To do 2-mile jog or 2-mile run is you have to start flat. You can't go up or down because you don't want to re-injure or re-educate those muscles. So you have to, believe in the process. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You have to believe that, but you got to be in the moment and you don't want to relapse. You don't want a second setback. Right. So you have to be extra cautious.
And then, that might have a lot of applications to what we're going through right now, right? As not only as runners, but in society. Have you thought about what do you think runners or should be doing during this time of quarantine in terms of training? And that can be from the professional athlete all the way down to, Chill and Joe jogger, just trying to get their miles in right now.
Yeah.
I think if you are a runner or people who have done sport, you have to understand the magnitude of where we are at. If you participate 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, or soccer and things like that, you can say, hey, you just there is that perfect feeling day when you go out and you're going to hit it out of the ballpark or you're going to play really well. So to make that happen, that has been taken away from all of us, whether we want to run a long run or want a race that we worked hard for, or people want to get their medal for what they were getting ready for. But you understand that health comes first. As long as you understand that, there will be other magnitude that slow but surely route to back to the normal. And you have to be disciplined, because runners, I can speak for the runners because I'm one myself, are very patient, are detail oriented, and are meticulous of how needs to be done to get healthy. And that's where I think having done sport pays off versus somebody who never done a sport and then they start panicking. What do you mean I can't do this? Or I need to go out, do my business. Well, there's a pause right now. And if you've been injured, people who've been injured, they will know, oh, I can't do that yet. And it's kind of fits with the lifestyle that, unfortunately, it's the lifestyle we have right now.
Right. And so, Josh, I think what Meb's trying to say is that America has essentially broken its pelvis, and we need to ease back into this whole thing. Is that what do you think, Josh? On the rehab?
Yeah, I think so. One of the cool things is Meb, one of the questions that we had when you're outside and when you're running or when you get a chance to exercise, and I imagine some of those events are going to be similar to that, where you get a chance to go back to Boston or go to New York, or you race, your local 5K or the Silicon Valley half or whatever the case is. That's going to be so much more of an enjoyable experience because people are going to be appreciative of that whole thing. And I know, Meb, you've got a chance to do all these really wonderful things, like the Boston win, I'm sure was great. New York was probably a fun time too. Olympic marathon, who knows? Maybe that was fun. But what were some of the things outside of the accomplishments that you really appreciate about the community that you get a chance to experience?
What runners appreciate is the resilience of not giving up. For me, in fact, all the titles that you listed, Josh, but also when I ran the Rio Olympics in 2016, I was struggling. I was having a tough time. Yeah. And I stopped 7 times and I fell at the end, and I regrouped myself. I did a push-up, and it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. And that's what life is, and that's what sport teaches you. So I think many people can relate. Meb had done a perfect day when he hit Boston or New York or winning a silver medal, but also the other times when you are not like the 2008 Olympic trials, pelvic stress fracture or broken, to be able to just get to that finish line. People earn that respect from you. And what I enjoy most is to hear stories of people. Hey, I have an injury and I read your book, Run to Overcome, and it helped me come back. Hey, I met you in genuine, I've met you at Boston or New York or in Iowa or in San Jose and things like that, and say, hey, people who run have understanding the pain and the patience and then also the commitment that everybody has. And I love hearing that story personally, not only when I have won races, but they trust you. They trust you to say, hey, I just lost my mother 2 weeks ago. Running has changed my life and I'm going to go in her honor. So there's a kind of purpose when people come and meet you and tell you, and the trust goes a long way. And for me, the medal or the wins are great, but at the same time, I love people. I love interacting with people, and right now I'm drawing on that. I mean, I have my family here, but at the same time, you see them running, people want to give you a high five. Or I was in Chicago, a guy pulls up to the road and he does a push-up. I said, I thought he pulled a hamstring, he fell, and then he goes, in your honor. And then it's like crazy, they don't just remember the medals, but they remember what you have done.
Yeah, I had like a full beer thrown at me at a run once, and the guy said the same thing, in your honor, So, I mean, we all have our experiences, Meb,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it is.
Run for it. But I think that Meb makes a great point, and something we love at Run Local is the relatability that you can relate the first person across the line to the last person across the line. And I was thinking, there's a question from one of our followers. It's Cindy. Let's see where one of them here. She was curious. What do you think race organizers can do to support all runners, not just up front, but those that are in the back as well? And this is something we think about, but we're always trying to improve the experience for everyone. Do you think there's something? What do you think, guys? It's more.
Experience is important, and I said my favorite memory of the Olympics was the experience that I had at Sydney, Australia. Whether it's going to the ferries and see sightseeing, the Opera House, or things like that. I think, sometimes you come and race and go, but if they can add some kind of experiences with that, with what the city is known for, for the people who come long ways across the states to have that experience. But I think they have, some local races that I have done, small races, is they usually have a pasta dinner. I think a pasta dinner and stuff like that, limited amount of people to have that experience, share stories. And I think that's wonderful because it kind of helps you motivate and also have, because sometimes you go to races and you hope that you meet. I mean, I've been told before, they're like, oh my gosh, my weekend is complete. I wanted to come and meet you. But they're getting the medal, the t-shirt, and the other races. But those are the facts that people say, and when they say that, it makes you appreciate, because sometimes the race organizers want to bring you for a purpose, but not everybody will be able to interact with you.
Right. I think that's a really good point. So, Josh, this is something my friend Peter Abraham down in LA was talking about at the Olympic trials, trying to find a way to really integrate the fans and the athletes. And Meb's always been really cool about that, of giving his time, signing books for, way longer than he was supposed to be at a booth, whether it is at UCAN or Maui Gym or Skechers at that booth, and just staying there and just finding a way to keep the fans and the pros united. And man, I would love to keep that tradition going, to create more of those.
Yeah, I think it's important.
I know we don't want to mess up all their concentration, but at the same time, it's great for the sport. Anyway,
well, I tell people, when I tell people that
statement, I suppose, less of a question.
We're gonna get JT to stop talking at some point, Meb, so you can answer.
No.
I gotta box this stuff, guys. You're not gonna get me stopped all day.
People often say, if you run a marathon, you might not want to be on, you need the full concentration and whatnot. But if you're running a half marathon or less, I always, when I go to Beta Break or Silicon Valley or San Diego Rock and Roll or Big 7, when I love doing the interacting with people, because it just makes you enjoyable, but at the same time, you're not going to lose that fitness. I say, I got to be on my feet, really watch TV, whereas you have hundreds or thousands of people wanted to have interaction. That moment for them going to live a lifetime experience versus being locked up in a room. So I agree with you, JT. It's just always nice, if you're running. When I ran 101 in San Jose, I was doing the press conference, meeting people and books and doing other stuff that sponsor asked. So it's always nice to be able to give it back that way, because for some people, including myself, it's a lifetime experience.
Yeah, but I imagine, Meb, it gets like it's a vibe for you too, right? Like, I mean, you got to get some energy from that crowd too, not just giving it.
Absolutely. No, I always tell people say, I'm sorry to this. I said, it's always an honor for me, honor and privilege, because I get that energy from them. It's a neutral, it's contagious, and right. You get up, go. But to your point, Josh, is, but then when I put my head in the pillow and I'm out. But at that time, it's a marathon after a marathon. I mean, people say, "Oh, I ran a marathon in 6 hours, or I run in 5 hours." You did a marathon. You showered up. You done all this and this. You probably eaten a hamburger. I said, "Yeah, I ate a hamburger, but not until 10 p.m. because for me, it's always something going on after a marathon. I don't, I might come and change and go, but I have until 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. is when I get back to my room. I might have to be done at 11 or 12 o'clock, but I still have some other commitments to clear. But the energy of the run, the energy of the people keeps you going.
Yeah. That's super cool. I mean, we've both experienced that. I remember when you were in San Francisco for Beta Breakers when, I don't know, it's maybe like your kids were super young at the time. But there was a line out the door of the expo hall just to come in and meet you, and you stayed there the whole time. I mean, it was fantastic. But so one thing I want to ask you about, though, speaking of your family, like a tiny transition into that. Like I know that it's like all of this travel's taken up a ton of time when your girls were young, right? Like you're on from race, you're all these commitments. Now you got all this time. Like, what are some of the things that now that you've got a little bit more time with the girls that you've really enjoyed with this new period of your life?
Yeah, Josh, I remember when he said beta break, I remember people were, when we came in, you and I were coming and there was a line, but they were sitting down waiting. And then all of a sudden when I came up, all of a sudden got up. It was a thrill of a lifetime. It was pretty awesome.
That happens to me though, like when I walk in anywhere, to be honest, man. So it probably had nothing to do with you.
I'm trying to be like you. That's why I know. I'm trying to be like you.
Good luck.
But family has always been important to me, and it's still important to me. But yeah, I mean, for me, it hasn't changed a lot right now. When I'm at home, I'm always at the house from Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday, unless I'm traveling on the weekend. So what I did miss about when I was traveling was on the weekends. When they have school, I would travel and for business. But now, unfortunately, we're in quarantine. But try to do as much as I can with them. Whether it's read a book, or whether I'm playing soccer or trying to score, playing soccer and trying to score in the basketball net, and so fun stuff. Or they're playing volleyball. Unfortunately, I got injured my shoulder like about 5 weeks ago. With them,
were you just spiking it on the girls?
No, I was running with a soccer. My body cannot keep up with my mind, and I hit it really hard. And
welcome to the Masters division. Welcome to the Masters division, man. It doesn't get much better after that. It takes a long
time to recover, that's for sure. That sucks.
Yeah,
I'm about to join you guys in 5 months.
5 months for Masters in 5 months?
40. Wow. Taking you both down. I'm coming.
He's coming.
Okay. Yeah, you might. Yeah, you keep. JT says that as he has another sip of wine. So I'm feeling okay.
Hey, Josh, he said it earlier. He shouldn't have just kept quiet and say, "Hey, I'm ready for you guys in 5 months." But he said something now, so.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, you see that?
What's the distance? What's the distance?
Mental note. I'm taking a mental note.
What's the distance? Yeah, what distance do you think you can take Meb down in, JT?
50K.
50K.
You got that. I'm not doing 50K.
See, he won't even do it. I knew it. That's the one I wanted to pick.
Dude, fair point. Like any race that you have to pack a sandwich for is too long.
You got a point there. I have my good friend Mike Lilly. Fanny pack is. I don't want to be in that program yet.
Yeah, he's got like a 6-inch sub back there. He's like midway through, like a meatball sub. Oh, it's delicious. Weighs heavy.
Don't worry, I got UCAN to carry me through those. So if I decide to do it, I got UCAN.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah. Protein pack.
So Meb, one that reminds me. I don't know why meatball sandwiches remind me of that, but it made all the wonderful nutrition choices that I made in college. Meatball sub was up there. But when you and I raced, I know we were going to talk about this, but I'll do a total non sequitur to when you and I first raced, and you might not remember it as vividly as I do, but it was in Pasco, Washington, 1996. And you, myself, and a gentleman by the name of Adam Goucher were all in the race, right?
I'm sure that's the 3 people they announced before the race too.
8K cross country, yeah. No, it's back where I grew up, right? So,
local boy.
A lot of pressure coming back. And I remember midway through the race is I'm halfway up like the biggest hill on the final lap, and I look over to my right. And I see Meb and Adam, and they're not necessarily right next to me. They're about a half a mile in front of me, but I could see them on their way to the finish line. And I remember thinking, like, man, that looks like a great race to watch. Boy, I'm glad I got a great view of this race. And then I realized that I was actually in the same race, so that was a little bit of an interesting.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Matt, do you remember this race? Is this a real thing, or is Josh just like making things up?
It's a real race. But I can relate. I told you about this race in '96 in Washington, but it was I was trying to go for that win, but I never beat Goucher. He beat me in high school. He beat me on the cross country. I beat him on the 5K as a freshman, and when he was at CU, I was in UCLA, but. 96, I said, man, I got to beat Goucher, and he got me by like 2 seconds. It was tough loss, and and then eventually, the only time I ever beat Goucher at the cross country was at the NCAA when it counted the most. You had Bernard Lagat, Kevin Sullivan, Abdi, the Howard Twins, Sean Kelly. I mean, it was who of that year.
Was that in Kansas? Right. Was that at Kansas at Rimrock?
Durant, North Carolina. Durant.
North Carolina. So it was after Kansas.
Yeah.
Look, the point I was making about Pasco is at the end, Meb, which you probably missed out on, is they gave out pies.
Oh.
Not to the winners, but they gave out like homemade pies, and it was for say like every 12th finisher. So it had nothing to do with the. And so I came with pie one year.
Can I go back? Can I go back and get it?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what?
This is like what I claimed my pie from 1996.
I still got the bib.
Meb, if you show us a picture of a bib, JT will bake you a pie.
All right. Give me some time. It's still in San Diego. The bib in San Diego, but give me some time. I'll get it to you.
The bib in San Diego.
But Josh, I can relate to that. I love Cali. But to your point, Josh, is so similar story at the 2000 Olympic Games. I'm looking to you look to your right. I looked to my left. I'm looking Haile Gebrselassie and Paul Turcot duking it out, and I'm like but luckily for me, I had the screen in front of me, the big Jumbotron. The screen was there, and I'm like, I don't care this race. They might not show a replay. I can't miss that race. So I was just watching the race, and then David Van from Mexico passed me. I'm like, I don't know what number place I was in. I don't care about this. I got to watch this race, and then eventually I got him. But I can relate to that. There was sometimes you don't want to miss those opportunities. And Haile Gebrselassie and Paul Turcot were my idols growing up, and competed against them actually. But great race.
Yeah, that finish was closer finish than the 100 meters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's pretty much the same thing. Like us racing in Pasco, you beating me by 3 minutes in an 8K. or you competing, in Sydney in the Olympics. Same thing.
Apples and oranges. Yeah. Apples and oranges.
At the end of the day is you got to start with run local.
That's right.
Yeah, you gotta represent the local. Represent the local, baby.
Really do.
No pies in the Sydney Olympics, unfortunately. Meb,
that's great.
Look, we got a couple of questions from our listeners, our viewers that threw them in there. You game to answer a few questions?
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, I don't know what your agent told you, whether or not you'd be available to answer questions, but I mean, your agent.
My agent is my brother, and I have the right. I reserve the right to not answer it.
Yeah. Well, he already did you.
Background.
He actually just wrote. He just texted me a question. It said, "Where's my check?" Right. Where's the check?
Howard just texted you to ask where the check was?
Yeah, he wants to know where the money is.
Tell him it's in the mail.
45 minutes.
It's in the mail.
It's in the mail with the pie.
Hey, he is a Jerry Maguire of the track and field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just.
Nah.
Show me the money.
I just recently watched that movie just this last week, so I have to say it.
Oh yeah, is that the first time you saw it?
No, not the first time. But I actually had I signed up with him, Lee Steinberg. I signed up with him. I worked with him at one point.
Tom Cruise?
No, Tom Cruise. Lee Steinberg was the movies after Lee Steinberg.
That's right.
Tom Cruise would be, that's when he made it.
That's when you made it. Yeah, TC, they call it. TC.
All right, Meb, let me look at a couple questions here. We answered the first one. Let's see another one here. Let's see. I'm gonna pick one randomly here. This is interesting. Have you learned any? This is from Kelly, all the way from Los Gatos, California. Have you learned any new skills or hobbies while staying at home, sheltering in place?
Thank you for that question, Kelly. Los Gatos. I've been to the Los Gatos trails there, bro.
That's right.
I ran many, many miles. In fact, I ran my last hard run before the 2004 Olympic trials in Sacramento because my brother lives in San Jose and I have a sister Berkeley. But yeah, no, I think some of the skills that I've been doing is doing a lot of motivational speaking. I've been writing. I've been watching videos, and I think I'm a Obama fan, so I've been listening to a lot of his speeches and delivering speeches. I do miss him, and but I think playing soccer has been fun, but also it's not my daughters and I would dribble the soccer and try to make it in the basketball net, and then I knew ESPN had something, a girl scored from, she had, Walton wasn't there and they're doing commentating, and then next thing I know is she scored it from the back. I said, I give it up.
The little girl with the bicycle kick, right?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Crazy.
I said it. That was okay. I can't try anymore.
You're done.
Yeah, I was done.
She already got it. I love that.
But no, just read. I'm reading more often during this time and work on my speeches and things like that.
Hey, you need a garbage disposal installed by any chance? That's what I've been doing. A little plumbing, Josh.
JT service plumbing comments.
Plumber.
Plumber. No, I haven't been doing any plumbing, to be honest. Yeah. Dog's been getting a lot of walks. He's exhausted. He wants he like hid for his afternoon walk. He's like, nah, dude, I'm good right now.
Like too much attention.
Can y'all just leave?
Yeah. Hey, Meb.
The dog is only on sport. He was on 2-day training program.
Yeah, 2 days. Anything in high school, you think?
What's that?
I was curious what the girls' sport of choice was in Meb's household.
Oh, they love soccer. They play soccer. I think my daughter tried out, Fiore, who tried out for flag football. They played for their middle school soccer, and then they were in the club soccer, and I've been traveling quite a bit to those.
Yep.
But they just got, obviously, when I was actually in Orlando, I flew from Indianapolis to Orlando, meet her, my daughter there, and then watched her 2 games and drove down, and then that was the last travel that I had. But then everything after that, everything got canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that note, all our prayers and thoughts are, here we are having fun and friendship and whatnot. But there's a lot of people who've been struggling and going through the tough times, and our prayers and thoughts are, I should have said that at the beginning, better with them, and as they fight this challenging and difficult situation and moments.
Yeah. You know what, Meb? I don't know if you saw this, but I want to call it out because it was actually super cool. Like JT and Run Local gave away a bunch of shoes to folks who got laid off. And JT, I know we don't have to dwell on this, but I saw that.
Let's talk about me.
In your generosity. I thought that was super cool, man. That was one of the coolest things that you've done. The list is short, to be fair.
It was really fun. It was really fun because you had these two problems, right? You have all these people that lost their job, or whether they're waiters or bartenders, or you're not driving the Uber right then, and they're runners, and yet they feel like something certain. And at the same time, you've got specialty retail run stores that are just hurting because they have to close their doors. And it was a great way for Soul Focus, our parent company, to step up and be like, who needs a pair of shoes? Like right now, first 20 people to get back to me, tell me where they lost their job. And we were able to buy 20 $100 gift certificates from local run stores all across the country. You know what the best part was? And this kind of comes back to this friendship and fun connecting, was me being able to email and talk to a running store in like Flint, Michigan. I talked to a guy at First Place Sports down in Jacksonville, Florida, down by Meb, and just get to connect with all of them and be like, how you doing? Like, and how do I buy a gift certificate? And it was so much fun.
That's cool.
That is cool, man. Hey, JT, on that note, really interesting. Katie dropped in a question as well from Meb. It said, Meb, with that in mind, who would you consider an integral part of your running network that may not be obvious? Like a local shop, maybe a non-runner friend, and any suggestions on folks to add to our network. I think what she might be looking for is like, what's the support network outside of running that you have?
Did we lose Meb?
I don't know. Might be reconnecting. It looks like it's connected back up.
I'm back.
Okay. Sweet.
All right, there we go.
Did you hear that question again?
Go ahead. Not really.
Okay. So what we were saying is like JT's doing some stuff with local communities, and Katie asked a question to you, Meb, said, who would you consider an integral part of your running network that may not be obvious? Like a local running shoe shop, some non-runner friends, something like that. And how do you kind of expand that network, that support network?
I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people on my support, and sometimes you hear them through Twitter or stories, but probably one, that volunteered his time is Rich Levy. About my Bob Larson, my brother Howie, and my wife Jordanos, and people who pays me. But Rich Levy was a good friend of mine through his son, David Levy. We were not teammates, but same year in San Diego. His dad used to pick us up because I didn't have a car, and he would pick me up every Sunday to go for a run. And he's been there every step of the way. And David and I, we used to joke around. His son David, he's like, we're gonna have a bread company. We're gonna get Mo and David Bread Company, and we're gonna be roommate in college. He ended up going to Arkansas, we ended up with UCLA. So life took out different ventures, and then eventually, but we always connected. And Rich is probably one of my best friends. He was able to say, you know what, I helped you as long as I can. But he gave me a note to say, what to do in college. He gave me things to do when I bought a house. He says, here's what you need to do in terms of finance. I gave this to my son and daughter. I give you the same thing, advice. And guess what? He was the guy that rode the bike with me. He says, I am one phone call away. Just give me a day or 2 day notice. If you ever need Mammoth Lakes, I'm gonna drive. As long as my wife says okay, I'm gonna drive. So he's done that for me, And
that's amazing.
I talk about the van camps quite a bit in my books, but probably Rich Levy, I would say, who's been underrated. But I was training by myself. He would come before the workout. I need him maybe for my repeats or long run or tempo. But he would say, what time do we meet? He would be there for my warm-ups. He will be there for my cool down and all that stuff. So he's pretty amazing guy.
Cheers to Mr. Levy.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question.
And even on that note, even he would say, "Hey, come over." Whenever I was in San Diego, I remember I was living at the Olympic Training Center for Boston 2013, and he would say, "Come to our house, and so you won't get stuck in traffic for your workouts. Come spend the night at our house." So there were many people who opened the doors for me, but they definitely stand out.
Well, Meb, it's all got to start somewhere, right? Like, and we talked about this early when you're with your in PE, getting a T-shirt and an A. Who knows which order it was? But Daniel from Marina, California wants to know. I
like this question. That's the one I wanted to ask. Good one.
Yeah, you like that one? You want to ask it?
Yeah, I wanted to ask the one from Daniel from Marina, California. He wants to know, how can I make running fun for my 4-year-old son? He says, I desperately want him to follow my footsteps as a former competitive distance runner. So that's a really touchy spot, right? Like, you really want your son to follow in your footsteps, but at the same time, you want to make it fun. So it's kind of it's tough. It's a tough tightrope to walk. What do you think, Meb?
Daniel, that's a great question. And have been a father of 3. They want to do those things. And he's at that age, he probably just say, "Hey, Dad, let's go outside." If you can take him outside when it's appropriate, I'll be able to just say, "Hey, let's race to the car or to the block or whatnot." And then they're going to remember that as long as you keep doing that. Not like, "Hey, we're going to do a workout by any means." Just say, "Hey, let's go to the track and do a lap." And then I owe this a lot to my wife, Giordano's, for taking the girls. When I was in Mammoth, sometimes the girls will have the urge to say, "Hey, can we go to San Diego High," where I went to high school. And I was in Mammoth. She would take them to San Diego High, my high school, and run a lap or 2, or maybe just see who can do 200 meter or 100 meter. And just by taking them there, they getting people to see athletic. And just recent last week, my youngest daughter just says, "Hey, can we go run a mile?" Out of the blue. I didn't say. I'm like, yeah. I tell her,
let's go.
Yeah. And we went for a run, and you tell them, in high school or whatnot, I want you to do soccer, I want you to do running and things like that, but you have to practice it, and just let me know when you're ready. Keep communicating that, and they will do that. Yeah.
It sounds like it's just like getting them to love a bit of movement is the first starting point. Yeah. Get them to enjoy how it feels to move.
I would say, Daniel, to say, I tell them, you don't want to live through them. You had your competitive career like you had, Daniel, and the other thing is now it's them. It's about how do you nurture that love and that fun and enjoying it. Make it fun. Do a local 5K, or eventually my middle child just did the half marathon. She wants to do a marathon. She's 13. I'm trying to hold her as much as I can. Just went a full marathon. I'm like
hold her back.
She walked with her aunt, my sister in San Diego, and then she walked with Giordano's, this one in Gasparilla this year, just a couple months ago, and she wants to do a marathon. I said, "No, and I'll do it with you. I want you to enjoy this for a long time. I'll pace you, and hopefully we'll get it done. But you want them to have fun instead of just say, 'Oh, you got to do this.'"
Yeah. It's what's crazy to me is it's like you think about all these races that we've all done collectively, all 3 of us, and everybody who's listening has done a bunch of races, and I never reflect back and think of the result. It's always about the kind of how we felt about it. Was it a good effort? Was it something? Was it fun before? Was it fun after? Did I make sure that I put forth as best as I could? And that's when you're competing. But when it comes down to these like large scale events, it's all about how you make people feel, right? I guess that's a little bit of me chopping up a Maya Angelou quote. Like they don't remember what you tell them, remember how you made them feel, or something along those lines. And Meb, you do such a wonderful job of making people feel involved and engaged and all of that. And when you're thinking about the kids in that, like, how do you keep them excited? How do you keep them doing that?
It's a habit. It's really a habit. We all brush our teeth in the morning, not at 4:00 in the afternoon. Why? Because it feels good. It's a routine. And for them, it's just starting to create a routine for the kid to just say, "Hey, you know what? When you have on the weekends or Friday after school is done. I want to go for a little run, and then not Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but just do maybe Friday and Sunday, or maybe one day of the week. And if you have that routine, they're gonna love it, because it's the thing to do. I mean, most, like our middle child Fiona, she wants to know what we're gonna do the next day. She wants to plan, and the others, they love it, but at the same time, you just spare the moment. But for her, it's just got to be. So you got to know your child, which way they function better, and allow you to just say, hey, why not try this? Let's do push-ups, especially at this point right now. I mean, I remember Daniel, you have a 4-year-old son or daughter, put them on your back and try to do push-ups, or have them sit on your legs when you do the crunches and stuff like that, because they see that. And that was fun. I was just looking at a picture when I was at Mammoth Lakes doing a core workout with Fiore and Johanna. And she's like, what's she doing on you? I was like, well, she's interrupting. We were doing core workout and came to be playful. So the more you do those things, the more you're going to get in touch with you and be able to enjoy your, the things that they're gonna listen you do. And lead by example at the end of the day is in a healthy diet. Say, hey, let's eat fruits and things like that. Let's have fruit time, but stretches, core workouts, push-ups, those things, and you can do indoors and hopping around and things like that, because kids, they're meant to run. We all meant to run, to move some point or another. Maybe not 100 miles or not 50K or whatever, but at one point we want to be able to do, it's a training regimen.
Yeah. Josh, we got one more that came in on the live, which I think is really fantastic. Whoa. I know. Hang tight. It's the perfect segue. So Tom H wants to know, Meb, and I think this is a nice little segue here. You ever think about coaching?
I definitely do. I love coaching. I did my first high school, Jeff Stoic. He was a football player. He wanted to run 800. I helped him run 202, I believe, as a football player. And then I coached. My first job was in 2002. I came early from Sydney trip to coach at the San Diego City College with Paul Greer. And eventually I have given advice over time. But yeah, it's interest of me. I think collegiately, eventually, when the girls are older, right now is the priority is the kids, and doing motivational speaking engagements. But I think I don't know if I want to elite yet, but at the same time, I love hearing people. When I was in Atlanta for the trials, a lot of people have been asking when am I going to start coaching. So I am started to think, especially now being at home more time, I'm thinking about that more often than before.
Yeah, we're continuing to plant that seed. We're watering that seed.
Yeah. Whenever you want to experiment, JT and I are willing to.
Let's go, coach. His coach taught me how to run hills at Runner's Workshop in Tahoe in 1998. Bob Larson taught me how to run hills, and now I want Meb to push me over the top.
All right, sounds like a plan. Coach Bob Larson, all leads to Coach Bob Larson in one way or another.
Shout out to Bobcat.
I'm glad you said it, not me.
I think that's a perfect way to end this. But I do think there's some really ways to continue to follow Meb. I know you can check out his website, marathonmeb.com. You got the Meb Foundation, right? You can still run the New York City Marathon.
Yeah, hopefully. Absolutely.
What else can we get? How else can we connect with Meb?
Yeah, Meb, you got a couple of books now.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, the first person is going to win this book autographed, the 26 Marathons, memoir of my 26 marathons, and then Meb for Mortals, both of those 26 marathons, Meb for Mortals, a New York bestseller, and then Run to Overcome is autobiography of our family. And my humble beginning from Airchat all the way to be the New York City Marathon champion, the Boston champion. So if you are looking for a read, give it a shot. And if you have already, thank you for your support. And I always say run to win. It doesn't mean getting first place, but getting the best out of yourself. And all this time, the situation we're in, do our best to be there for friends and runners and non-runners and the community, to be a light at the end of the tunnel, give them hope and inspiration, because we could all use it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Meb, a ton for being on the show. Please give our best to your Donis, the girls, and maybe even Howie. Who knows?
Maybe even Howie.
Maybe even Howie.
All right. I'll let him know. Thanks, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Meb. And Josh, thank you for all of our listeners back at home. We are doing more of these live podcasts, putting our podcast on here. Please subscribe on the button below on the YouTubes. Also, we'll be doing a Run Local Workout Wednesday, this Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with Coach Katie Gott. We'll be back here on the YouTube Live. I'm sure there's a number of other things that Dave wants me to plug, but producer Dave, runlocalevents.com. That'll get them all the information they need. Josh?
Yeah, we're doing this whether people are watching or not, so it's
I don't care.
Really helpful if people watch this. You know?
I just love you. I love Meb. It was so much fun connecting with two of my friends on a Monday afternoon, evening.
All right, pie in the check is in the mail, Meb. Thanks a ton.
Adios, my friend.
Thank you. All right.
Bye. Nice.